Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Way Through. I'm your host, of course, Bonnie Worth, and so grateful that you are here and we get to explore today's conversation together. This show is all about taking a look at the mind body spirit connection through the lens of mediumship, metaphysics, conscious co creation, in order to really help and support you, and of course, support me in being able to navigate the challenges of life and unravel all of the conditioning and really taking a look at what is our relationship with life? How are we choosing to show up for ourselves and more importantly, to show up for each other? So we have a really, this today's conversation, I was looking forward to it. I look forward to every single one of the shows and the conversations we get to have, but I'm really looking forward to this one today because this one is all about the energy of emotions and looking at the emotional content that not only in terms of our feelings of what's repressed or suppressed inside of us, but the impact that that actually has in terms of the results that we have and how it shapes our reality in how the things that show up in our life. So emotions are like a powerful force that shape our experiences, our interactions with the world, and of course with other people. Every single emotion emits a unique vibrational frequency, and it's a vibration that resonates with the universe on in some way, shape, or form. And emotions really serve as silent prayers or these requests that we're making for what we desire in our life, whether we are consciously aware of what we're projecting or not. So it can be done in a very conscious way, which of course is why I hope that you've come and you're choosing to tune into today's show, or it can be done in the unconscious way, which means that we tend to have life basically happen to us instead of something that is happening through us. And here again, there's a very distinct difference. So, understanding vibration, the emotional content is important, but also understanding the vibration and learning how to balance the emotional energies can lead to a more harmonious way of living our lives. I mean, this is, we can look at the different emotions here, but to understand the energy, emotions are energy in motion. And so anything that is repressed or suppressed inside of us, of course, we're holding in our emotional body. It's being held in a container, and it really is cultivating the experiences that we're having in our lives, as I said, whether we are aware of it or not. So emotions can be understood as a spectrum of vibration, and every single emotion has a corresponding frequency or an energetic output. So, as an example, a positive emotion such as love or joy or gratitude really emit a higher frequency of vibration. And when we look at, the law of physics here, when we look at understanding that like attracts like, that high vibration attracts high vibration within the universe. And so that can create a real favorable way of living our lives and conditions of our lives, etc. It's what really kind of expands into greater experiences of abundance and in contentment and peace in our lives, that greater sense of fulfillment that we all yearn for or look for. And so when we experience joy, we have an expansion, so to speak, of our energy, an expansion of our light. Whereas when we are, experiencing the contrast, there is a contraction of that energy. And so when we look at, negative emotions, and I don't like using words as positive or negative, but there isn't any way to articulate it based on the understanding because everything just is in the universe. It's neither good or bad or positive or negative, but we live in a world of duality. And in this dual concept of this time and space that we, know life as, we are, being able to understand these two aspects of us, the light and the dark, the shadow, the shadow self and the higher self. And so we can look at understanding that our emotional content registers or is aligned with a higher self or with what is the shadow self or the lower self. So when we look at, a negative emotion such as fear or anger or sadness, those tend to vibrate at a lower vibration. They can vibrate at a lower vibration, but can be really, really strong in terms of what they're creating behind it. So when we look at emotion of high vibration and low vibration, it doesn't mean one overrides the other. It just means that whatever is the stronger of energy is what's going to attract our challenges or attract our ease and our joy. So when we look at, I mean, every single one of our conversations that we've had of understanding our wound, understanding what we've inherited, what we're carrying, the layers of, shadows that we have, or what we have denied ourselves in some way, simply because we need to get over it and move forward in our lives. When we understand all of that, it begins to, this is where we can begin to understand inadvertently that that emotional content is really an energetic signal to the universe of what it is that we are praying for, asking for, even if we're not consciously doing it. So we our emotions and our emotional states and the frequency of the emotion is important, but also the strength of that vibration, the strength of it in the negativity or the strength of it in the positivity. And so recognizing this, the influence that this has really allows us to take greater charge of our lives. We can understand how our emotional states are, we're in constant communication with the universe, but how our emotional state can really influence what is the results we have, how we feel about our lives, and influence our relationships, what we attract in terms of friendships and partners, and even jobs, and even our financial matters. Everything is really governed by what is this energy, this emotional energy, our worthiness. It comes down to, I mean, everything we're looking to attract into our lives, everything we're wanting to create, overcome, or, those prayers being answered are all a part of what is this container of emotion that is dictating, whether we're moving forward or we're staying in stagnancy or staying stuck within our lives. So when we look at, emotions as these silent prayers, it's really to understand that emotional state, excuse me, is really, it's important to take a look at, doing this deeper work, because it's not merely a personal experience that we're having, but we are transmitting to the cosmos. We are inviting more of the same into our lives. So when we look at our power of choice and making conscious choices for our lives, this deliberate practice is what helps to raise our vibration. It's the very things that we come into alignment with what we're looking to attract into our lives. And not only, again, does it, increase our ability to manifest the things that we desire, more importantly, it increases the aspect of our overall well-being, our emotional content, the state of our mind, the state of our bodies, our health, and the state of our spirit, of course, as well. So I've talked a lot over these last few shows about understanding what's been suppressed, the belief systems, everything that we're holding in terms of inherited conditioning, understanding all of it. And this is where this conversation is really important as well, is because it comes down to the question of, why would I look to pursue healing my past? And I know with so many clients that I've worked with over the years, looking back, it's like they want to forget the past. They don't maybe perhaps recognize the influence that that emotional content is having in terms of the results that they have in their lives. Even if they start coaching with me in terms of their intuition, or they start coaching with me in terms of moving forward after a major loss, whether a loss of job, a loss of relationship, within terminal diagnoses, or even, the death of a loved one. Many people, people come for many, many different reasons in terms of seeking support and help in their lives. But to understand that it is of an influence, and that we have somewhere, whether we are, again, conscious or not, we've made a decision based on what we are worthy of, based on past experiences, and the emotional content of those experiences still exists within us. There is a cellular memory that we're holding on to, and it is compiled, of course, as I've shared in the previous shows, in terms of the paradigms, the belief systems, what is our operating system, and our ability to make conscious or new choices for ourselves, to move from a state of fear and reaction, and of past circumstance or old information, to bringing in new information, a new operating system, something more that allows us to become more aligned with what it is we're looking to create for our lives, but more aligned in terms of what is authentic for us, what is truth for us, what is most supportive for us in general scope of everyday aspects of our lives. So when we understand that our emotional bodies are energetic systems, and these energetic systems are in constant communication, and when we can become very aware of how we feel, this is again, the deeper work that I do with people, of really moving into what is being felt, and where is it being felt, and where is it being stored and held, and how can we look at transforming that information that still exists within the past content that's been suppressed and that's been denied. When we can get into allowing for the feeling of it, the feeling not only based on the emotional content, but the feeling of the energy content behind it as well, that we can really begin to, I mean, not only can we recognize the patterns of things, but we're able to really release what no longer serves us, to really let go once and for all what is the ties or binds or limitation that our past has over us. So this is really, this is when we look at understanding the vibration of things, the energy behind it, we can understand how balancing our overall energy, it really is enhancing our connection with the universe. That when we're doing the deeper healing work, when we're giving ourselves opportunity to confront what happened in the past, to give voice to what happened in the past, to begin to acknowledge the impact that those experiences have had on us, we begin to create a greater connection to ourselves. But as I said, we really enhance our connection to the universe, and in terms of what, the results that we begin to have in our lives, or what begins to play out or happen, when we look at what's inside of us, really is the external world is a demonstration of what's going on internally. So when we begin to go deep into ourselves, and we acknowledge and we move through the deeper wounding, it's like once we change the emotional content of our existence, the outer world begins to change. But how does the outer world begin to change? Well, it begins to change because when our emotions become into harmony, energy is flowing freely, and it's what promotes our health and well-being. Whereas unresolved emotional content really creates blockages and imbalances within us, and of course it affects our not only our emotional health, but our physical and spiritual well-being as well. So when we look at this deeper work, and why do I want to explore my past, and I just want to forget about my past, I just want to move forward, I don't want to go there, I don't want to look at it. And it's like, yes, from the aspect of our human condition, it's easier just to pretend it out of reality, to ignore it, to deny it, to step away, and look to make a choice moving forward in our lives. The unfortunate thing, though, is because we haven't dealt with it, because we haven't felt it, because it still exists, the emotional content still exists, which means the energy is still affecting us as well. Why do things manifest? Where does illness come from? Disease, the things that play out and happen in terms of psychological well-being, all of it is because of content that hasn't been acknowledged, or acknowledged or even healed within us. So it's such an important part, in order to really reap in the rewards that are available to us within the universe, and available, the answer to our prayers. We need to look at letting go of the very things that are creating the limitation or block. And so that requires us to take a look, to revisit, to acknowledge, and to be with what happened so that we can process it, we can release it, and heal it in the most efficient and effective ways so that we can really change the external world, what's happening in the world around us. We can't change the greater world stage. I mean, we can influence it within the energy of things, but we are looking at what is my role here? How do I look at altering, shifting, and changing what's occurring in my life? And we move out of the place of victimhood where we're blaming everyone else or the circumstances or the government or other people, for what's happening in our lives, and we begin to take ultimately that scope of deeper self-responsibility, and the willingness to take a look at what happened, to give voice to what happened, to process the pain, and to release the energy that is creating the block behind the results we're getting. Why I this is not here again, something that comes up time and time again with my clients. It's like, why are things not changing for my life, for me? I'm doing all this stuff. I'm doing the gratitude journal. I'm doing, my prayers. I'm doing all this stuff. Why is it not changing? I'm working on my mindset. And that's all valuable and important aspects of it. But they're only pieces of it, because when we look at where do the blocks come from, it's the emotional barriers, it's the things that maybe we have refused or rebuted in some way that we have to take a look at. And again, we can, by understanding our emotional state and understanding the vibration of it, we can begin to align with more positive energies. That's what opens up to a world of possibility for us. We begin to invite greater abundance and joy and fulfillment into our lives. But we've got to be willing, to understand, in order to radiate the positivity into the collective, consciousness of humanity, we also need to take a look at what is that emotional content, and what am I emitting, and what am I holding on to that maybe requires some attention and some healing in order to shift and change the results of life. So when we look at, I'm going to get into some of the different emotions. I'm not going to go into, there's so many emotions. We could be here all day in conversation. I'm just kind of taking a look at 10 of the different emotions to understand what is the vibration and the impact that it actually has. Now, in understanding, we live in a very world of duality. And understand this. Our human condition really gives us experiences that will be, things that we're really pleasing and joyful and wonderful, to the extreme of greater challenges, and that are upsetting and difficult, and really getting us to, question, the purpose of life altogether. So, there's different states of our being, and so we look, and that becomes an important piece of it, because when we look at it from an ontological perspective, this metaphysical, directive here, when we really understand it, it's getting into the energy behind it really is affecting our state of being. And when we, at the deepest level inside of us, we are joy, we are love, we are peace, we are compassion, we are all of those high, beautiful, beautiful emotions. But when we bring in the human condition, now we're bringing in the aspects of our frustrations, resentments, the shame, the regrets, the anger, and the discontentment. All of those things are a part of what we navigate as human beings. And so we need to understand that our state of being is of a high vibration, and our work, so to speak, is to bring ourselves back into alignment with that greater state of beingness within ourselves. It's not always easy, but that's also why we need to take a look at what happened, what has caused me to believe the things I believe about myself, what is a better feeling thought, and why do we want to take a look at that? Because the emotional energy behind it, the energy, the vibration, is really what's creating and manifesting the results that we have in our life. So we can't just get over something. We can't just pretend it out of because it is a content, and it's resonating, and all of the emotions resonate at different frequencies and different energetic, and we could say energy patterns, so to speak. So when we consider joy as an example, now we can't live in a state of joy all the time. I mean, we can, I'm going to take that back. Of course we can. We absolutely can live in a state of joy. But when we bring in the human condition of it, it makes it a little bit more challenging to always be in that, that state of joy. Now, joy is often considered what is the highest emotional vibration. So it's what radiates warmth and positivity. There's so much lightness that's there. And this is what, we're really what cultivates optimism and openness, and really is what generates our greatest connection to the universe. It's a very high frequency. It's like when we think of a dial on a stove, it's where that stove would be turned on high, as an example. And so when we're experiencing joy, we are in a place of really attracting positive experiences and uplifting other people. We are, generating an energy that is benefiting the world around us. Our state of joy, becomes infectious, so to speak, and we really become, are in a state of contribution to the world. And of course, it's enhancing our overall well being. The unfortunate thing, though, with joy is this high vibration. It's, if we're not doing the work, so to speak, sustaining that for long periods of time now becomes the challenge, or becomes the, I don't want to say the impossible task, because that's not it at all, but we can really go into a state of joy, and then we can really drop really hard into a lower content of energy, or a lower content of emotion. So that, that emotional roller coaster that, you might have heard about or people talk about. I mean, this is here again, that's where it is. It's because, we experience great high frequency of energy of joy, this energy of joy that is so wonderful, and this an elation and connection with our higher self and with the divine. And we're just, it's so pleasurable to be in that state. But when we're not doing the other work, we can drop out of that very quickly, and it's almost like becomes like the ultimate crash, so to speak. It becomes more, it's like the negative emotion becomes so contrasting that it becomes even more difficult and more challenging as a result. So we look at joy as being, again, the highest vibration. Now, it's not surprising, especially when you think of love, because we look at love as being very, very high in frequency as well. But and it's not, it's love is a vibration, is an energy, of course. It's an elevated emotional state that really, brings in, provokes, so to speak, an unconditional acceptance and compassion, connection with other people, states of intimacy where we really feel seen, heard, and held. And it transcends. It really is a very expansive, energetic aspect. And it really, when we're operating from a place of love, not only are we nurturing our personal relationships, but we're also promoting healing and unity on a broader level. And love unites, and it also invites abundance and harmony into our lives. Now, to live in a state, again, it's a very high vibration, to live in a state of love all the time. I mean, this is really, where so many light workers and shamans and healers and people come forward, and they just like, I just want to love everything. And it's great. We can love things out of reality, absolutely, because it does alter and change within the energy concepts of it. But here again, it can be difficult to sustain that higher frequency for long periods of time if we're not doing the other work, because we can be in a high frequency, we're elevated, we have this beautiful compassion and understanding of other people, and then boom, something happens and we're triggered. And when we're triggered, we can fall into lower vibrational states and lower emotional, because we get into lower emotional content, the stuff that hasn't been dealt with. Now, our triggers, I'm going to talk about this on an upcoming show, because our triggers really are a gift. They give us an opportunity for conscious choice to become aware of what needs to be healed, etc. And I'm going to go into it because it's another important facet and conversation, because we try to, here again, avoid being triggered, and yet triggers are the awakening. They're our chance to alter and shift something very dynamic inside of us. So I'll get into that in another episode. But here, looking at when we're not, upholding these higher energy states, becomes challenging. Why don't we get the results that we are looking for in our life? Why are things not working out? Why do I always attract the same relationships into my life? Why, we can get into that perpetual state of why are things happening, and it comes down to what happened, what is going on within our system, within our energy system, that keeps attracting the same people, the same situations, the same experiences. We can, as I said, we can always move to a different city, but wherever I am, there, there's my stuff too, right? So I've got to look at cleaning up what, my baggage when I'm moving from city to city. I can't, we can continue to take it with us, and we're going to get the same results, the same. But when we alter and shift and heal something, then our circumstances begin to change, because when the internal world shifts and changes, our external world shifts and changes, and it shifts and changes because of the energy frequency behind the content that we're emitting into the universe. So here again, yes, we want to be in a state of love, to be loving and patient and kind. Of course, that's at the highest aspect of our being, except we have this human condition. We have this other stuff that happened that needs to be acknowledged, healed, and understood. Gratitude is a very high frequency here as well. Now, this is where, again, I have said time and time again that gratitude saved my life. And I know it sounds like people are like, what? And I'm like, it truly did. My capacity to shift my mindset from a place of everything that was broken and wrong and terrible in my life to moving into a state of gratitude was a massive, not only mind shift for me, but it was a big energy shift as well. The frequency of gratitude is about the same, in the frequency of love, so they kind of work in parallel. When you're in a state of love, it's easy to be grateful. When you're in a lower state of being, and a lower state of emotional content and vibration, it's hard to be grateful. And so when having to push the envelope, and that's what I did. I had to push the envelope to find things to be grateful for, to do the work in order to bolster this energy so that I could be lifted up and out of that state of despair and suffering. I had to do the work to get there. Gratitude was one of the ways. It was a doorway for me, in order to do that. I mean, there's many doorways, but this is one of them that was for me. And it really was, I said, it saved my life, because I was in a space where nothing really felt meaningful, where life had lost its meaning, life had lost its purpose. I didn't know my place in the world. I wasn't feeling, like there was value to life or value to me. And so I had to, gratitude, shifting to a state of gratitude and really amping that up, is what really helped me to get a broader perspective of my life, to begin to look at what was good and wonderful, and not be overshadowed, that had previously been overshadowed by the stuff that had happened, right? So we look at, gratitude as being a very, you might be someone who works with a gratitude journal, and I highly encourage it. I still, to this day, every single day, I sit down and write out, what am I grateful for? Write out 10 things over and over and over of what I'm grateful for, so that I'm constantly in this frequency and this vibration, because gratitude emits a powerful vibration, again, that not only generates this overall, our overall energy level, but it takes us out of lack to abundance. It raises our vibration, and as it raises our vibration, it creates a ripple effect in circumstances in our life. And it really, uh, it takes work to get there, and it's really hard. As I said, when things are falling apart in your life, it's really hard to find things to be grateful for. And if you're in that place, I really encourage you, to take a look at what steps can you take towards a practice that really will cultivate gratitude, and not gratitude from what is an intellectual, what you think you should be grateful for, but from a state of being inside of you, of what you really feel grateful for. You want to create the emotional energy that really will help you to lift you up out of that state of suffering. And so we always want to be very aware of what the feeling is behind things, because the feeling is what is emitting the energy into the universe. It's the energy, and that energy is contributing to our overall well-being. it's contributing the energy of the world. We can feel the energy of the world. We can feel, our vibes talks before we do. And so, we are very aware of energy, and whether we are conscious of that or not. And so becoming conscious of it and becoming conscious of the vibrations here of and the frequencies of the elevated states that it creates really helps us to stay committed to ourselves, to do the work, committed to ourselves, to stay the course, the path, and continue forward, because it's what changes and shifts everything in our lives. Okay, contentment. This is so funny because my husband always says he's like completely content. He's content with everything. I'm more of like, I am like the generator, and I need to be like activating and making change and doing all kinds of things. And my husband exists in contentment. He's always content with the way things are. Now, contentment is a great place to be. Contentment is kind of a moderate high frequency. So when again we look at the stove, the dial on the stove, we're coming down on the dial. We're no longer on high, So we look at, joy as being the high. We look at gratitude and love as being, the mid, kind of the 3/4 mark of the stove. And we look at the medium here, the moderate to high frequency. This is where contentment comes in. We're still in that moderate, we're in that higher state, but more to the medium, placement of the dial. And so contentment is here. I mean, it's what reflects a deep sense of peace. It really is a state of acceptance. It is emitting an energy into the universe, a very calming. There's emotional balance here. It's not as exuberant as what joy is, but it is something that fosters the and contributes to our resilience. It's being in a state of contentment is a strong foundation in which we, to navigate when challenges come up. So there's nothing, when I say, my husband is in a state of contentment, it's not in judgment of something wrong or in that way. But it is a state of caution. I'm going to say anywhere within we look at a moderate kind of a vibration is a state of caution. And I say that because contentment can very often, if we stay there too long, if we're content too long, if we're not taking some formidable action in creating our lives and making change, it can also be the thing that actually leads to depression. The energy of contentment, that moderate to high energy, can get stagnant and stuck in our energy field. So it can actually create, over a long period of time, it can actually create a block or a barrier to what is, what we're manifesting, or what, the results that we have in our life. So we always, cautionary around the moderate to high frequencies here, because they're great to be there in, but we still need to continue to do the work. See, the goal here is always about increasing our vibrational state, not staying in a vibrational state. And even if we are experiencing joy and we're in a state of love and we're in, an energy of gratitude, we want to continue to do the work so that we're sustaining it, that there's always greater layers and deeper experiences to have in those higher states. And where, contentment is exactly the same. We need to continue to do the work so that we're elevating into a higher state, into the state of gratitude, just a little bit higher of an energy emission. Whereas if we stay in contentment, we're not doing any of the work, well, we can really slide, right? So it's just being aware of it. I'm not saying it is a bad or in judgment. It's a state of being that we need to be aware that we can go either direction. When we're sitting at that medium level, we can go high or we can go low. That's one of the ways of looking at it. So contentment is there. Hope is also there. Hope is really a moderate frequency. Now, I love hope. And I would say that when we get into a place of hope, that's always where, for everything that I do, I always hope that something I say, that in my keynotes, everything that I'm able to offer someone something, some nugget that is going to allow for a state of hope, because hope is optimism, and it's an embodiment for the future. And so it's acknowledging, yes, there's current challenges, but it's a state of hope is also this point of taking action. Just like contentment, we need to take action. And so here, although it's a vibration that's lower than love and joy, hope still holds a really positive charge in the universe. And it holds a positive charge. Not only does it support our own aspects of resilience, but during those difficult times, but is it emitting a higher frequency that when we're in a state of hope, now we're starting to move forward and coming more into alignment with the answer to our prayers, the things that we're looking, the change that we're wanting to be in the world comes from a state of hope. So that's why I say I always hope, I always hope that something I say is going to land in order to inspire because it is, even though it's a moderate frequency, hope is what rises up, and it rises up because I mean, it's like I said, it's optimism for the future. It's saying there where hope is says, I'm still wanting to live. I still want my life. I still want to engage and move forward from this. So it's a moderate frequency, but it holds a lot of influence, so to speak, in the results that we have in our life. Now, sadness is a low frequency. Fear is a low frequency. Now, we get sad. We are humans and life happens and things don't always work out for us. And, we get sad and we get sad about the conditions of the world. We get sad, sometimes what can feel like for no reason at all, especially as an energy sensitive, we're picking up or we're absorbing and taking on the energies that are around us. And so sadness, there's, I mean, it's when we kind of feel a loss of something, maybe we're disappointed. Now, not a loss in terms of what is, the loss of a loved one, but there's something from our life that isn't just kind of working out the way that we hoped or prayed it would. And we feel a little bit sad in that. And so it's a lower frequency. It's heavy, it's dense in energy. And so the here again, even though it invites us for introspection and a chance to do healing, when we stay in a state of sadness for too long, it leads to stagnation. And stagnation, again, means that we're not processing our emotions. We're not consciously making choices that are leading us towards change in our life. We've maybe been in a state of contentment, and now remember I said in contentment we can begin to fall, where it's a sliding scale. Sadness is the first indication that maybe we've been content for too long, because now we're just we're stagnant. Things aren't moving. We're not seeing the results in our lives. We're not feeling better, right? So this, we look at sadness. We need to honor sadness for what it is. We can be sad and go to work. We can be sad and still show up in our lives, but we can't deny the sadness. And we need to be with our sadness and honor the sadness and do the work, of course, here to begin to shift the energy and move us out of that emotional state. And the reason why, so that we can not only feel better, but that we can, begin to alter and change the results that we have in our life as well. Fear is a very low frequency. Again, we live in such a fear-based consciousness. There is so much fear in the world right now. There is fear over everything, like everything. We could look at this and pick it apart, piece by piece, but it is heavy. It's constricted and it can be paralyzing. And so this is an emotion that often stems from anxiety, because anxiety about the unknown. There's perceived threats happening around us. And this low frequency, when we're in a state of fear, it creates cycles of negativity in our lives. It's really what attracts more fear-based experiences to us. Now, I look at this even from the state, of our connections with the other side as mediums. And this is where, I share with my students and the people I mentor that the fear of the dark is the very thing that invites the dark forward. The fear of something bad happening is going to invite something bad happening. It's just how the universe is a yes machine, and like attracts like. And so when we are in a fear-based cycle, we are creating negativity in our lives. And so, we need to look, it's really, really low and saturated. I mean, our world is saturated in a fear consciousness right now, and that fear energy. And so, we have to do the work. We have to acknowledge what our fears are, what we're afraid of, and be patient and compassionate with ourselves. But in the same time, we also need to transform that fear so that we, by raising our vibration, and we do that by pulling ourselves out of the energy of it, and we pull ourselves, I would say we can consciously choose to participate in the energies that are around us, and that's because we become conscious of what is my vibration and what choices can I make in order to raise my own vibration so that I begin to feel better. It's not denying here. We're not looking to just raise our vibration and forget about what happened. No, we want to raise our vibration. We want to deal with what comes up for healing, and then we want to continue our vibrational raise even more. We're always making a conscious choice that continues to elevate our frequency or elevate our vibration. Anger sits on the low to moderate frequency. Now, the vibration of anger is low to moderate, but when we are angry, it's a potent energy. It is, oh my gosh, it really, even though it's this, we could say this negative emotion, quote unquote negative, it could also be the most positive thing for us to experience because it's what takes us into action. It's what causes us to assert ourselves in some way. And so, unmanaged anger, of course, leads to destruction of outcomes and relationships, and for ourselves and with others. But however, when we're processing anger in a very conscious and constructive way, we might be in this lower vibrational frequency, but the power of anger, of what it does in helping us to emit change in our life is beautiful. And so this is where I don't ever want to get into, there being a positive or negative emotion and saying, don't be angry. In fact, I want to say, be angry, but be angry enough that you're making a positive choice or change for your life to do something about it. So, like I said, this is where this is unmanaged. It can be destructive, but it can also mobilize us into action. It can also be the very thing that causes us to assert our boundaries, that causes us to say, oh, that's it, I'm fed up, I need change. Everything, right? It finally gives us the opportunity to speak our truth. And so anger is actually, and again, that's why there's no positive or negative in terms of emotions, because anger really serves in a very positive way when we're using it, constructively. That being said, it is also a low to moderate frequency, which means that if we're angry and we're taking action, we're raising our vibration, which means we're going to get some results in our life. There's going to be positive changes that happen as a result. But if we are angry and we are unmanaging that anger, and we are hostile, and we are hurting ourselves and hurting other people, and we're constantly in the victimizational stages of our life, then it becomes very detrimental. It becomes very, that aggression and that injustice and the frustrations that sit in anger can also derail our greatest prayers. They can derail the quality of our life, the quality of our thoughts, the quality of our, again, even what manifests physically inside of us. So we look at, understand there's an energy behind the anger that can work for us or against us. And again, it's of a lower moderate frequency, which means on that, on the stove, it's on a really lower dial. And so we want to take the action. We want to look at, finding the healing, making conscious choices for ourselves, that are going to be more aligned and more beneficial in contribution to our lives. And then doing, the work where we're, moving out of the fear, and we're, dealing with our sadness, and we're activating some hope inside of us, because as we're moving up that emotional scale, we begin to alter and shift the results that we have in our life. Jealousy is something else that comes up here. Jealousy is, again, a low frequency. Now, jealousy here again is seen or judged and known as a negative emotion. Now, jealousy comes from feelings of inadequacy, of envy, of comparison. It's a very dense energy, and it can really breed resentment and even regret for us. It can, we can regret some of the decisions that we've made in our, in the past. We see other people living the life that we've always maybe dreamed of living, and we haven't got those results in our own life. And so there might be resentment, but we also maybe get into regret about decisions and choices we've made in the past, etc. Right? And so it can be recognizing jealousy is an important thing. Feeling jealous here again is not negative. Even though it's a low frequency, we don't want to stay there, but to understand that jealousy actually serves us. It serves as an opportunity for us, again, to make some conscious choices, to remember our own worthiness, to begin to do the deeper work and begin to apply ourselves in our life so we can begin to change and shift the results that we're getting. But more importantly, jealousy is the way that the universe shows us what's possible for us. It was showing us our own untapped potential. When we see someone living the life that we want to lead, that's the universe saying, this is your potential. What you envy and jealous about other people is your own unrealized potential. It's one of the ways the universe is showing you this or something even greater if you begin to do the work and begin to heal and move forward and make the, new conscious choices for yourself. So again, even though it's of a low frequency, again, we stay in a state of jealousy, and we're always jealous, and we're always, complaining, and we're, always in that state of victimhood, that when we're staying there for long periods of time, just like anger, it can completely derail our best intentions. So we want to look at what's causing us to feel jealous. Not why do I feel jealous, but what is causing me to feel jealous of this person? What action can I take? What change can I make? What can I do, today that's going to support my goals and ambitions? What is it that I need to heal inside of me that is creating the block or the barrier from me leading the life that I'm craving to lead? So we look at jealousy here as invitation. It's not our limitation, but it's our invitation. And so it becomes an opportunity for us to this self-inquiry, to do, some of the deeper work. So even though it's of a low frequency, it's an opportunity. Just like I talked about the trigger being a gift. Anger has potential for magnificent change in our life. Jealousy is this beautiful way that the universe begins to show us what else is possible, and then we can take action on it. When we stay there, though, because of the low frequency, the low grade of energy that it's emitting, it can also completely derail our best intentions, our greatest prayers, etc. And again, it creates a ripple effect, right? Of, like attracts like. And so we create even more complexities in terms of what we experience in our life when we stay in that state for too long. I want to talk about one more here yet before we go, because this is a really important one. When we look at our states of worthiness, when we look at our states of uh, I would say feeling, valued in life, our overall state of well-being is shame. And shame is the lowest frequency there is. It's the lowest energy, and it is deeply rooted. It's deeply rooted in self-criticism, in guilt, in feeling unworthy. And it is what leads us to withdraw. It's what creates isolation. It is what perpetuates cycles. The self-sabotaging, all of that comes from this energy of shame. And where, shame has been so, I mean, God bless Brene Brown for, what she's brought forward in terms of understanding shame. But shame is this, it's a vital invitation here for healing, for us to be able to elevate our whole state of being. And it involves self-forgiveness. It involves self-compassion. It involves self-acceptance, all of these things, so that we can, let ourselves off the hook. I think, when we can really begin to look at, when we give ourselves some understanding, we're always making the best decisions we possibly can make based on what we have to work with. And what I mean by what we have to work with is we're always making decisions and choices for our life based on our state of consciousness, what we know at the time. And when we know better, we can make better choices. When we know better, we do better in our lives. But if we don't know, we can't, we become so ashamed over what happened, of what we chose. The shame, I know for myself, I carried so much shame. I was so embarrassed about some of the things that happened, but the shame of, the deeper wounding of anyone knowing what happened. Like, it was like, even though I was a victim in of circumstance, or a victim at the time in different things, I was so ashamed of what happened. And that shame was basically creating a bondage or a barrier for anything in my life. And so I didn't, I had no self-forgiveness. I didn't have a state of compassion, and we need to cultivate that. We need to understand that in order to alter and shift our lives, to move into a more positive or abundant way of living, we also need to begin to understand that, the deeper work that needs to take place, the impact that these emotions have on us. They, fear and anger and shame, are invitations for us. They are low frequencies. They are inviting us to show up and do better for ourselves. And this is where, again, our emotions are not just internal feelings. These are energetic vibrations that are resonating within and around us. And our emotional state and the impact that shame has for us really can, as I said, not only are we attracting similar frequencies, but it is an energy that alters every interaction of every single relationship. It is the one thing that prevents us from being authentic, from speaking our truth, of being able to move from a place of what is, of ease within our relationships, because shame is always activating friction and discord inside of us. And so, we need to do the deeper work. We need to, stick to the path, and we need to commit to ourselves in order to heal and transform. And so, when we look at, these healing practices that are available, and understanding the emotional vibrations really enables us to get to the root cause of our emotional distress. It's how we can identify patterns that need healing, and we can transform any lower frequency emotion, anything, into a higher frequency. But we need to do that by facilitating our healing. So why find a coach? Why work with someone to help? Why pay attention to what happened, in your childhood? Because what happened mattered, and it has formed and shaped everything in terms of the paradigms, your belief systems about yourself. And it's also the energy content that can help in supporting, contributing positively to your life, or creating it more challenging or more difficult as well. So, here again, I could go on and on and on. There's so much information to share with you, but I think, when we begin to understand that as energy sensitives, not only do we want to harness the gifts of our energy sensitivity, but to understand that the vibrational reality that we, has an impact on what we're experiencing, and our sense of worthiness, how deserving we feel of love and success and happiness and fulfillment, is deeply intertwined with this emotional vibrations, with the vibrations that we're emitting to the universe. And so understanding this connection can significantly alter and change your life completely. And I say that because it has altered and changed my life completely. There's such an interplay of our that affects, with this energy, that affects our sense of worthiness, and affects, of course, what is the possibilities, when our self perception changes, when our emotional state changes, it directly influences how we see ourselves, and of course what we recognize, or what shows up, of course, in the world, in the external world around us, what manifests for us. So, my sweet friends, thank you so much for tuning in. And again, I just want you to believe that you are worthy, and as you know that you're worthy, and you believe that you're worthy, that you can manifest some positive outcomes in your life. And by being able to take a look at what emotion am I feeling, and where am I feeling it, and what needs to heal, and knowing that you are at the core of, all the results that you have in your life. And so understanding this link can really alter and change, what plays out and happens for you. So I hope that something I've shared here today on the episode really, really helps to support you in moving forward. Of course, if you want to learn more, if you're interested in working with me in any way, of course, please visit my website, bonnieworth.ca. And more importantly, if you really felt that this episode really helped and supported you in some way, please like, share, comment, share it with a friend, help me to help you and help others, of course, in getting this information out into the world. Thank you so very much for tuning in, and I will be here and I will see you next week. Bye bye, sweet